This episode is brought to you by the Regional Air Quality Council, because it's time to go green and set the summer trend. Get yourself a 30% point-of-sale discount on new electric lawn and garden equipment statewide in Colorado at participating retailers. That's 30% off electric lawnmowers, leaf blowers, and string trimmers. Actually used this recently. My husband was like, how do we get that discount? And I was like, I think you just have to find a retailer. And he was like, okay. And then we did it. Learn more ways to help improve air quality along the Front Range at simplestepsbetterair.org. That's simplestepsbetterair.org. This episode is brought to you by Energy Outreach Colorado. Energy Outreach Colorado is celebrating 35 years with their Greatest Hits Tour. Since 1989, they've been topping the charts in energy equity while helping thousands of Colorado families keep their homes warm and their lights on. Join their encore performance by donating at energyoutreach.org/donate. Your support ensures their platinum hits keep playing for decades to come. Energy Outreach Colorado, 35 years of #1 hits and still rocking affordable energy for all. Visit energyoutreach.org/donate to help today. Today on CityCast Denver, we've officially entered farmers market season and there are lots to choose from. So which ones are the best? Are they even worth it? And who decides which local food producers get one of those coveted spots? We're talking to our favorite food contributor about the big business of Denver's farmers market scene, the changing politics of selling homemade food, and her picks for Mile High Asian Food Week. Today is Monday, April 28th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Hey, so before we get started, we're in the final week of our membership campaign. And I know you've heard us talk a lot about the different benefits that you get if you become a CityCast Denver neighbor. But there's this one that's like super special. I love this one. It's called the Neighborhood Shoutout. And it's basically this. When you become a member, you get to submit a local business you love or a nonprofit that you think is doing amazing work in the city. And we get to shout it out on the podcast and in the newsletter. It's really that simple. Like, we get to tell other people about something that you know makes Denver special. And we want to do that. So when you listen to this show, you know that we love to shine those lights on what makes the city great, who makes the city great, the things that are on your block that you love. And when you become a CityCast Denver neighbor, you get to help us do that. We have to get serious about this. This is urgent, you guys. This is serious, if I haven't made that clear. We're living in this time of great economic uncertainty, and our show and newsletter rely a lot on advertising. So we need your support now more than ever. You get some great perks for signing up, but you also get to know that you're supporting a podcast that makes Denver a great place to be. So consider joining us and becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor today. Just go to membership.citycast.fm and sign up. It's $10 a month or $100 a year, and you will help us keep this thing going for a long time. That's membership.citycast.fm. Join today. Thanks. Helen Schuh, welcome back to CityCast Denver.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So Helen, do you have like a favorite meal or thing that you have purchased from someone, like out of a cooler, a food? I don't know if this is considered street food, but you know what I'm saying? Like a food vendor. Do you have a memorable meal?
I 100% have bought illegal food off the street.
Same.
I'm going to be honest. I mean, most of my tamale consumption is legal.
I was talking to our producer, Olivia, about this earlier. I don't know if I've had a tamale that's store-bought that's as good as one that I've purchased from someone out of a cooler.
Yeah. And honestly, I trust these cooler grandmas much more than a lot of restaurants. Some of my Chinese street food is also purchased illegally. And I'm not going to rat them out because I want to protect their identities.
Sure.
But I'm also not going to stop.
Is there an item you love that you know is just better that way?
There's tanghulu, which is it's usually like strawberries or grapes that are coated in hard sugar.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and technically they could just sell it with like a cottage food license, but I think they just don't want to, so they just sell it out of the cooler of their trunks in the car in the Great Wall supermarket parking lot. So
you know where to find them.
I'm there for it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the cottage food license, because that's what we wanted to talk about to begin with. Is there was this bill presented this session being called like the Tamale Bill, which would formally, it was looking to expand the Cottage Food Act. Can you talk about that bill, what they were trying to do with it?
Yeah. So to back up a little bit, for listeners who don't know, cottage food law is for mostly home bakers so that they can sell non-hazardous foods that don't need to be refrigerated. So the classic breads, cookies, muffins, brownies kind of thing. It does
Bake sale items, basically.
Yes, bake sale items, but it also does extend to pickles, honeys, preserves. So it does extend a little bit further out. But in Colorado, our cottage food law was enacted. Actually, guess when?
Like, it's recently? Like
Yes.
The 2010s?
Okay, yeah.
Early 2000s?
So I don't know. In my mind, I thought, in the olden days, we were all just eating homemade food, and then slowly regulation creeped up and they were like, you can only now sell non-hazardous foods out of your home. It was actually the opposite. Until the 2010s, every single food item had to be legally produced in a commercial kitchen, even if it was a brownie or a cookie or stuff.
So before that, we were just eating a lot of illegal food.
Yeah, I mean, definitely illegal.
That's so interesting.
People credit the 2008 recession because financial hardship, people are just like, we want a way to make money. We need a way to lift ourselves out of poverty and the 2008 financial recession and all of that stuff. So in the 2010s, that's when almost every single state started just passing these cottage food laws. And so currently in Colorado, like I said, non-hazardous foods that do not need to be refrigerated. And the biggest exception to that is you cannot sell meat. You cannot sell anything with meat in it. Yes.
Which again, I would think a tamale is going to have meat in it often.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard some lawmaker go you can still sell fruit tamales. And I was like, who eats that?
I eat those at Christmas and it's pineapple sometimes, but that's a Christmas thing. It's not the kind of tamale you usually get when you get one from someone on the street.
Yeah. And honestly, I would like some illegal hot dogs as well. There's a lot of meat-based snack foods that I think, I would like to purchase from an individual who made it at their home. So there's been a big push, I would say, ever since cottage food laws became into law, every single year, there's just a push to expand them and expand them and expand them. And the way that they're kind of framed is Food Freedom Acts. So Wyoming was the first one in 2015 where they basically said, under a certain sales threshold, you are just allowed to sell basically anything and everything except some very particular meat products that are just probably a little bit too dangerous.
Sure.
So Wyoming was the first one in 2015. North Dakota, Utah, Oklahoma, and Tennessee also followed. So this last session, Colorado basically tried to pass its own Food Freedom Act, Tamale Act, whatever you want to call it.
To expand on our Cottage Food Act.
Yes, basically.
Things you can sell.
Basically, if you are selling under a certain sales threshold, which in Colorado, it's $10,000 per product per flavor, actually.
10,000 items or dollars?
$10,000.
Okay.
And per product per flavor. So you can sell $10,000 of chocolate muffins and $10,000 of blueberry muffins.
Wow.
So
okay.
Colorado is actually really interesting. It's, I think, the only state that does that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you could pretty have a good bustling business
I think
as it stands.
No, I think that's why bakeries in Denver are phenomenal.
Because they've had that opportunity.
Yeah, because they have that opportunity to be entrepreneurial, I mean, do you know how much a commercial kitchen costs? And then the insurance on top of it, it's unaffordable. Unaffordable for someone who's I'm trying to sell 20 loaves of sourdough bread.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the commissary kitchens that have popped up to sort of try to fill this need for smaller entrepreneurs. But I think there's even more folks out there that, I mean, they couldn't serve all of those people in these smaller nonprofit, mostly commissary kitchens.
Yeah, no. And then in rural places, there might just not be commercial kitchens unless you build out your own, right? So Bakery 4, they started as a cottage bakery. So did Moon Raccoon Bakery, who just announced yesterday that they're going into a brick and mortar. And there's tons of others. There's Send Flowers, Miss Margaret Maker, Mountain Girl Pickles. They all started as cottage food bakers in Colorado, and now they are in commercial kitchens. It's, a full-time business for them.
You mentioned the recession for the last time these laws started moving. Is there uncertainty now? Is that sort of what feels like the backbone or the basis for this expansion?
There was definitely a huge push during COVID. right? A lot of restaurant workers, hospitality, back of house people got laid off, and they were like, well, I'm going to just sell my own stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this last session, HB 251190, they're calling it the Tamale Act, which basically was saying let people sell almost anything out of their home kitchens as long as they stay under that $10,000 per product per flavor threshold.
So this bill was brought by Representative Ryan Gonzalez of Greeley, a Republican, and Republicans all supported it. His argument in part was that this was an effort to help his immigrant constituents, among others, sell food products made in their home kitchens direct to consumer to, again, make some additional money, or maybe that is their primary source of money. Again, with the argument that the cost of living in Colorado it continues to be a struggle for a lot of folks. But what I found interesting was Dems were the one that killed this bill.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know if you saw it, but it was almost completely public health related.
Yeah, it was like there wasn't enough regulation within this bill to make it what they considered safe. Or I don't know if I'm characterizing it correctly.
It was a lot of worry about foodborne illnesses, the fact that now you're letting people sell things that need to be refrigerated, that should be kept, at a certain temperature, should be heated to a certain temperature. There would be no enforcement mechanisms for this. There would be no, the typical food inspection, safety, permitting, licensing regulations. But
which sounds big and scary when you say it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no regulation. It's the Wild West. But also, I think the argument against that was there isn't a lot of evidence that foodborne illness is particularly more prone in these sort of cottage industry.
There's quite a few studies
production.
that show out of the 7 states that have very permissible cottage food laws, or like home food laws, I guess, there's not much evidence. There's studies that show that there isn't any evidence of any major foodborne illness outbreaks or like the prevalence of. But the thing is, it only takes one, right? Like
it's the listeria outbreak for that one place. I'm thinking more of like farmers, but like the reverberations of that generally can be very impactful.
Exactly. I think it's like the flying on airplanes kind of phenomenon, right? Like it's so much more dangerous to drive your car, but we drive our cars every single day. But the airplane crashes get the most attention, right? So it's like a CYA for these legislators of, we don't want to, like, what is the benefit is so spread out, right? Like, okay, thousands of people can make a little bit of money to help their family support themselves. But if one thing goes badly and one person gets botulism or listeria, like it comes back on them of how did you let this happen? Why would you roll back the regulations and the food safety protocols? But I did look in, because I think at one time a witness testimony was saying, oh, like there has been, once Wyoming passed their Food Freedom Act, we did see a lot of foodborne illnesses increase by 50%. And when I looked into it, that 50% increase was all from like private residential food, like at a big graduation party.
Okay.
Or like a Sweet 16 party that, someone has a foil out of lumpia out for like 6 hours or
I know,
something
I'm thinking
that.
about a spread that sits out in the sun all day and then someone eats that egg salad at 6 p.m. that's been there since noon. And that's a much different situation than someone selling wrapped burritos outside of a baseball game.
Yeah.
Not everybody's touching those burritos.
Yeah. And like one of the witnesses was like, think about the children. I was like, as soon as you bring up that kind of like
the hysteria,
like the emotionally charged testimony, that's like, think about the children who are going to perish because of they ate a tamale and stuff. It's like, I legitimately trust my tamale seller way more than tons of restaurants in Denver, just because they're in a commercial kitchen.
Sure.
Does not mean that it is clean and hygienic, because I think it's more personal, right? Like if you are a worker who's being paid minimum wage at a restaurant that, is telling you maybe, oh, you have to do this hygiene process, you have to make sure to separate these kinds of foods and not cross-contaminate across these different cutting boards and stuff like that. That is just a job for you. It's a minimum wage paid job. Maybe you're not as careful. Maybe you're not paying attention. And then also like maybe management isn't also paying attention.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's also a much larger scale than one person making one type of food item in their kitchen where you may not even have a cross-contamination situation at all.
Yeah, like in their kitchen, which they probably feed themselves and their own family out of and have a more vested incentive to keep it clean, let alone the business incentive of you are dependent on people patronizing you as regulars or buying your food from you, the person, right?
Right.
So you don't want to ruin your reputation by doing a shouty job and accidentally giving someone food poisoning. And from like the education standpoint, I do understand that like maybe there can be more educational resources for food safety and handling. But that's right now a requirement for the cottage food laws is you have to take your food handler certification already.
Sure. So it will be interesting to see if this reappears.
He promised it would.
He did in another in an upcoming session, maybe next year, because I don't know, we might be seeing more of an economic squeeze and more folks wanting to be able to have this option as a business.
I think you got to increase your top of funnel. Like if we want a thriving, amazing food scene in Denver, you got to increase your top of funnel for entrepreneurs who are willing to take risks and who can come up with interesting, creative ideas that maybe is just not mainstream enough, that they don't have the capital to spin up a food truck or some...
Which is costs on its own, you know? It's often seen as like the alternative to a brick and mortar startup, but even that costs money.
Yeah.
I can hear Governor Polis being really into this.
Yeah, he seems a raw milk. This is kind of
tangential. Before we move on really quickly, I just have to ask you, I've seen on Facebook Marketplace folks selling plates of food. Have you seen this?
Yes.
What do you think about it?
I patronize it.
You do.
Some of the best Ethiopian food and Nigerian food is on Denver Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
Yes, and Filipino food as well.
So you just like purchase it and go pick it up?
Mm-hmm. It is 100% illegal. Like there's no way. It's basically impossible to convert your home kitchen into a commercial kitchen standard. It's I would just say impossible. So if you are going to someone's home to pick up like a tray of egg rolls or something like that, they are breaking the law and so are you, but it's so delicious.
But how do you pick? I have to say, you could really put any picture up there of the food and it not be that. How have you...
I just look at the pictures of the food.
You do? And they seem legitimately like, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. And sometimes there's star ratings, usually there's not. But usually I'm just like, what am I in the mood for? What's kind of within driving distance and what looks the best?
I kind of love this as an option outside of like a Grubhub or a DoorDash because this feels like a lot more affordable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's a direct
to consumer.
Direct to consumer.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a bad experience with a Facebook Marketplace meal?
I've never gotten food poisoning, but I've definitely gotten stuff that I was like, I don't really like this dish. Yeah, but it's pretty like I wanted to try it. I'm not really into this.
It's something I'm just so interested in watching how it evolves.
You should try
it. Okay.
Yeah, because there's also just a lot of great ethnic dishes that you could not find at a restaurant. And I will caution you usually have to get like a giant aluminum foil pan of it. It's like a catering kind of situation.
You don't just get a plate.
No, that's not worth it for them. Right?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. This episode is brought to you by Choir League. Choir League presents Sing and Shout, an unforgettable afternoon celebrating the powerful legacy of African American spirituals, the foundation of all American music. On Sunday, May 4th at 3:30 p.m., join Lonnie Norwood, gospel singer and teacher from the South Side of Chicago, for a workshop and performance with Choir League. Lonnie will guide folks through this powerful American art form, where it came from, and how it informed American music that came after it. You can buy tickets now on Eventbrite and enjoy the show with Lonnie, but you can also join Choir League. The group meets weekly for practice at local breweries and distilleries. Singers can sign up for 6 to 8 week sessions, and there's always a performance at the end of each cycle. There's no audition to join and no experience necessary. Tickets for the May 4th show with Lonnie Norwood are on sale now at Eventbrite. Just check the link in our show notes. For more information on the program and joining the choir, visit choirleague.com or email info@choirleague.com. This episode is brought to you by JCC Denver. Join the JCC for the second annual Klez Colorado, a weekend-long klezmer music festival that centers local and national klezmer music acts, Yiddish cultural activities, interactive workshops, family-friendly programming, and Colorado's Jewish community. CLES Colorado happens May 16th through the 18th at JCC Denver's Ranch Camp. The fest is hosted by the Meisel Arts and Culture Center and the Steinberg Loop Jewish Community Center and is organized by a queer-led and queer-focused group that welcomes people of all backgrounds. Catch acts like Dot Levine, Gora Gora Orchestar, Hal Aqua and the Lost Tribe, Jordan Wax, and Mish Mish. Get your tickets now. For more information about CLES Colorado and to purchase tickets, visit jccdenver.org/CLES Colorado. That's jccdenver.org/KLEZKOLORADO, or just check out the link in our show notes. This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. Looking for a unique gift that's going to secure that spot of best gift giver they know? Give the gift of an Aura digital picture frame where you can preload lots of fun pics for whoever the lucky recipient is. It's easy to see why everyone loves this frame. It only takes like 2 minutes to set up and has unlimited storage for photos and videos. This cult favorite is featured in hundreds of gift guides and articles like Wirecutter, Oprah's Favorite Things, and more. And you know if Oprah's recommending it, it's gotta be good. The Aura frame can display as many pictures and 30-second videos as you can take. Plus, it can even play audio. If you can't decide between all of your awesome summit pics, why not display them all? Plus, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's auraframes.com. And don't forget, use promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Hey, it's me again. I'm reminding you that we're in our spring membership campaign and we have some really critical goals to reach. We just need 8 people to sign up today to stay on track for that goal. So what do you think? Do you want to be one of the 8 people? Do you want to be one of the people that helps us get there? We know this is totally doable. And also, by the way, we're in a low-key competition with CityCast Salt Lake, and they are beating us right now. And if you're like us, you want Denver to win. So show your support and get access to great perks like the most neighborly coffee mug you've ever seen. It's so cute, you guys. And when you sign up to become a member at membership.citycast.fm, you get that cool mug. And you might help us beat Salt Lake. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. Well, let's talk about this as it relates to farmers markets, because we're looking at farmers markets, coming back online. It's warming up. How do farmers markets play into this cottage foods conversation?
Yeah, so a lot of the cottage food bakers, one of the restrictions is you have to sell direct to consumer. And in Colorado, you are allowed to do internet sales, but obviously if nobody really knows about you, it's hard to get those first sales. And so a lot of the marketing and exposure that cottage food bakers will do is participate in these farmers markets, makers markets, artisan markets.
So it could really expand or beef up our farmers market options if there were more folks able to participate in the cottage foods.
Yeah, I would say any farmers market, probably a quarter of them, especially like of the baked goods, prepared foods kind of category, they're most likely under a cottage food. It actually is very dependent on which farmers market you are at, though, because they have different standards, different restrictions, different rules for letting vendors in.
This is another part of this conversation I wanted to ask you about, because I've seen chatter online regarding farmers markets and this influx of folks. This is outside of the food conversation, but selling things like AI art, mass-produced stuff you might find on Amazon versus like the handmade or handcrafted items. Have you seen this?
Yeah, so I have definitely seen this at more art markets because I think, yes, the AI art, put it on a pillowcase, sell your Temu socks here. That's definitely a phenomenon. And I think something that, I don't know if people don't realize, it's more like, I don't know why people would think about, is farmers markets are usually businesses, right? And so there
in
are
themselves.
Yes, exactly. Like the farmers market organizers are running a business. And so they are choosing the vendors, and some of them are more circumspect and strict and want a certain kind of theme or like vision or philosophy. And some of them will just take whoever will pay them. I naively thought before I started looking into this, I was like, oh, it's run by the town. It's run by the city. It's run by a nonprofit, maybe.
Especially if they're like in a public park or something.
Exactly. No.
And that is not the case.
Most of them are private event producer companies.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Makes sense.
So like the South Pearl Farmers Market,
Sure.
one of the hardest farmers markets to get into. They get
As a vendor.
hundreds of applications. They get to be very picky and choosy because they attract a lot of traffic, right? They get a lot of eyeballs. So they are run by a company called Hobnob Events. Hobnob Events also does Central Park Farmers Market, Highland Square Farmers Market, Breckenridge Farmers Market. So guess what the booth fee is?
At the South Pearl.
Yes.
500 bucks?
So it's less. It's $230 for the
I was gonna say
entire
$250.
session. So that's the whole summer. And then they take 10% of your revenue.
Of your sales.
Yes.
That doesn't seem that bad to me. However, I don't know what the average sales is for a vendor at a market and what that would actually equate to. So it could be pretty pricey if you're a smaller vendor or maybe.
It's a business decision, right?
Yeah.
Like you can go to a smaller market, you can pay a smaller fee. You might not even have to pay a percentage of a royalties, revenue, but you might get less traffic. You might get less eyes. You might get less exposure. You might get less people following you on social media. Like it's a business decision. And I think it's just interesting. Like people rarely look at a farmer's market as a business, you know?
Yeah, it kind of just feels like one of those aspects of
Like
the
a
summer
community.
season.
Yes. It's just spontaneously hosted by the community.
But it's very calculated and in these cases sometimes very curated.
Yeah. And these companies need to make money. It costs a ton of money to get these permits, logistics.
Shut the street down.
Yeah.
Deal with the, talk to all the business. I think about South Pearl in particular because my doctor's office is actually on the South Pearl market, like on the street where they do it. And so I imagine they have to talk to every single business owner along there, make deals with them about shutting down the street. It's not easy.
No. I think it's interesting. And then another aspect is just like how hard it is to get a permit to do one of these events. And so it's a huge barrier of entry. And so there's kind of a few monopolies of these farmers market organizers because they were able to get grandfathered permits.
Ah.
Yeah. And so do you remember City Park Farmers Market?
That was exactly the one I was thinking of.
So Colorado Fresh, which is this huge farmers market organizers in Colorado, they just stopped hosting that City Park Farmers Market. It was called City Esplanade, I think.
Yeah, by East High School.
Yeah. So they stopped hosting it. And then a couple, I forget Margot and Peter Wanberg, they just petitioned the city if they could pick up that permit. And it's a grandfathered permit. It is like a stroke of luck, basically. It's a miracle that Denver said, yes, you could pick up the permit there for the City Park Farmers Market. And they got it and they got it back on track and it's been really successful. So successful that they've just started a new farmers market, Lafayette Farmers Market.
Oh, well, I mean, it was such a popular one. It was such a visible one. It was like, again, it's the one I think about other than South Pearl when I think the farmers markets or the Cherry Creek one that used to happen in the Bed Bath & Beyond parking lot. But those established markets, you can see where that is really lucrative if you could get that permit.
Yes. But it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like the rich get richer kind of situation.
Yeah.
It's like, if you got grandfathered into one of these impossible to get today permits, like you're golden, right? It's like everyone wants to be in these farmers market. People will pay higher booth fees, higher application fees. You'll get more sponsorships and there will be no competition.
I mean, to me, the plus side I would see is maybe this problem with the AI art or these artisan things wouldn't infiltrate those bigger markets because they're being so discerning.
Yes.
So maybe we won't see the enshittification of a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go, I just want to talk to you really quickly about Mile High Asian Food Week. It's coming up next week. There's so many places to choose from. Do you have any picks or recommendations for us?
Yes. So I want to be highly efficient because they have grown so much. So they started in 2023, very recently, started by one of the co-founders of Asian Girls Ignite. They've done a great job. It's kind of like a restaurant week for Asian restaurants, food vendors. And so there is this Friends on Federal at Adobo event, which is going to be April 28th. I think it's 5 to 9 p.m. They're going to have like 6 or 7 different vendors there. So you can hit all of them
Awesome.
on one night. And there's going to be like Kids Table who does vegan Filipino food, who I'm really interested in trying. There's going to be Indian street food. Chatwala is going to be there. Panda Bao is going to be there. PKR is also supposed to be there as well. And then Dai Dai must try the milk tea, boba tea. I really love their boba tea. So that's an efficient stop for me. I can hit
Good
like
option to
7 different places at one time.
Awesome.
And then the other one that I haven't gotten a chance to go to the restaurant. So I feel like this is a good opportunity for a little bit of a lower price, which is Magna Kainan.
Oh.
They're the modern Filipino restaurant. They're doing a $45 prefix menu. Unfortunately, their most popular dish, Mom's Crab Fat Noodles, are not on the menu, but I figured I could just get the prefix and then go back later to get the crab fat noodles.
That sounds so good, but I can see where crab would make it a little too pricey for the prefix.
Yeah. True.
Oh, that sounds so good. Those are 2 great options. There's so much out there. I think that's just one of the things about it is it's grown so fast, but also just reminds you of how Denver is moving. Helen, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, before we go, I get to shout out all the folks that have become CityCast Denver neighbors recently. I hope you all are listening. Hey, big thanks to Deb Taylor, Joshua Doyle, Joseph Brewer, Joanna Cintron, Pamela Hennings, Rachel Vranazan, Lori Conrad, Dan Ribb, Patrick Howard, and Colin Hodson. Thank you for becoming our neighbors. If you want to be one of these people, if you want to hear me shout you out and I want to shout you out, you can become a CityCast Denver neighbor today. Just go to membership.citycast.fm. And don't forget, if you sign up right now during this campaign, you get this super cool, real 70s diner-style neighbors-only coffee mug as a special welcome gift. Just go to membership.citycast.fm and join us. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Margot and Peter Wanberg about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Michael Fry, and I've lived in Denver for 15 years. I read a lot of newsletters, but CityCast Hey Denver newsletter is the one I never skip. I love it because it's not divisive, it's not ugly, it's helpful. It's like my really nice neighbor who I run into on the way to work who says, "Hey, did you hear about that thing?" I recently spent some time living abroad in Portugal, and CityCast Denver was the thing that helped me stay connected to my city. And I support CityCast Denver because I want to make sure it sticks around. The information is valuable, and the people providing it really care. And to prove that, I'll let you in on a secret, which is that when you reply to Hey Denver, the author, Peyton Garcia, actually emails you back. CityCast Denver is such an important service to the city, and you can support it too by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor. Just go to membership.citycast.fm and sign up. And that's membership.citycast.fm.